What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loud Spot. I'm your host, Sebastian, right out of Oklahoma City. We got a great show for you tonight. We got Ava Gore joining me, my co-host, and then down below we got Mr. Tommy Vext. Let's go.
Oh no! Oh boy! Here it comes! The motherfucking Loud Spot!
All right, before we start this interview, I do want to remind everyone, if you like us, and even if you don't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on all the podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, Deezer, all that good stuff. All right, Tommy Vext in the house. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just coming in live from Nashville. And I actually just did like a 3-week road trip. I took my time driving over and I moved. I relocated from LA. And so it's been a cool trip. I got to see a bunch of people I really love and spend some time with the homies on the way. And yeah, just relocating, restarting, dropped a new single, kind of broke the matrix with that a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
What made you decide to move to Nashville? I mean, I know it's a big music town, right? But from LA to Nashville.
I'm from New York originally, and I moved to LA in 2006 when I originally got signed to Roadrunner Records and Century Media for Divine Heresy, and then I just stayed in LA. I spent, in the time that I was in LA, there was a year, I think in 2009, I lived for a year in San Francisco, didn't like it. And then
I'm from San Francisco. I don't like it there either.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's really expensive, and there's not really much to do, and it's just kind of like, it's not really, if you're not in tech, I feel like there's not really much going on up there. At least now. And then I lived, when I worked for Five Finger Death Punch, I moved to Vegas. So all of 2017, I lived in Las Vegas, and then wound up coming back to LA to keep doing the Bad Wolf stuff. And and I just like, I've kind of been over LA for a long time. And I think California has basically been destroyed. I think COVID really tore up California. Most people are moving to Austin, Nashville. They're moving to, Vegas and Phoenix.
Oklahoma. They're coming to Oklahoma too.
Are there? Well, yeah, because you guys have weeds legal there.
Well, not only weeds legal, weeds legal here, but I think we have one of the like a lot of conservatives, anyways, they're like, we don't have a huge mask mandate here in Oklahoma. I don't think there is one at all. I forget COVID even exists sometimes being out here just because of the way the laws are, and people in California, especially that are real anti all the COVID laws, are trying to find other places to move to.
Well, I mean, I think after about a year of the pandemic, it was very obvious that everything was politicized, to the point where pretty much I think, and I don't think it's a Democrat or Republican thing. I think it's a corrupt politician thing. And I think the politicians figured a way to make money off the pandemic, so they extended it, right? So they realized if we buy stock in Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, and then we make laws that people have to get this medication, our stocks will go up, and we'll use the people's tax money to fund into those companies, and they all got rich doing it. And I think in like 10 or 20 years from now, they're going to look back at this time, and it's going to be one of the biggest financial scams in global history.
What then would you say? Because I agree with a lot of what you said, but what then would you say when there are spikes in numbers and people are getting back to being hospitalized? How could you say then at that point that it's still a scam? Is there some truth to it at all? Or
if you study immunology and virology, which I'm just a basic guy, but I do have people who work in government that are my contacts, and I have pretty reputable doctors who have been on Joe Rogan and stuff like that, who I personally know, who have been kind of feeding me information from a very early on time. And basically like 18 months is the end point of any pandemic in the human history on the planet. Usually because of herd immunity. And so, I don't necessarily think, I think that there's multiple factors. I think that I think that there's been vaccine injuries, right? So there's like an estimated 61,000 deaths have been attributed to millennials in 2021 from in concert with vaccine injuries, which is more than the Vietnam War, which no one's talking about. And then also the reassignment of deaths by the hospitals, because the hospitals were getting grants. So every time a person had COVID, the hospital would get $6,000 for a positive COVID patient, and they would get $42,000 to $47,000 if a person had to go on a ventilator. So the hospitals were taking in people who had regular, if you look at pneumonia and the common flu, it sort of disappeared during COVID. Right. Because I think again that I think the doctors, not necessarily the doctors and the nurses. I think that as the numbers started to die down, the hospitals realized, one, people were afraid to go to the hospital, so they weren't going, so they were losing on patients, and a lot of people died because they were too afraid to go to the hospital. So there were like late screenings for cancer and all this other stuff.
There's literally people out there that need to go to the hospital, especially in the height of 2020, that were not going, like in the height of the COVID in 2020, that just weren't going because they were scared, so scared of even going outside their house. They'd rather just deal with whatever disease or issue they had than go to the doctors and catch and compromise themselves to catching the virus, which is scary.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, and I understand people who have, I have a friend who has a heart condition, and I basically, in the beginning, for like the first month and a half, 2 months, me and a couple of different people would go take turns getting his groceries because he's at risk. You know what I mean? So, we would, I think people, family and friends, like in community, kind of work together to if you weren't alone, obviously if you were on your own, it's scary, but to return to my point, I think the reassignment of pneumoniatic deaths. I know people who literally, I work in recovery. I've been sober for 13 years. I know people who overdosed on drugs and died. And then when their parents went to get their, reports, they died of COVID. They never had COVID, So it's just kind of like there's just so, there was just such a financial extraction done during this time. It was almost like a free-for-all where the chaos and the fear, put everyone in a position where they just scrambled, and everyone just, reached into the pot because they were cutting checks from taxes and stuff. They literally were doing government funds for all this stuff. And so a lot of people got rich off of it, unfortunately.
I do want to talk about you. Oh, go ahead, Ava. Go ahead.
I was going to ask how it's felt for you, like having such strong and passionate opinions and like everyone feeling that it's controversial.
I mean, I think that, I think lots of things were in history are considered controversial, right? Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass were controversial because they wanted to end slavery, right?
Right.
Something that we obviously know is a completely moral foundation to stand on. Anyone who, if a person today was like, I believe that we should go back to slavery, you look at them like they were mentally ill. You're like, what?
Yeah.
So I think, I think during, Martin Luther King Jr. was controversial because when he came out and said that Black people should have, equal rights and we should be able to share water fountains and share the country, people, it was like, oh my God, but now that's obviously
what a crazy concept to have,
So I think the, obviously, because I've been very outspoken about, it's not so much opinions. I just ask questions and I want to have dialogue that leads to answers. I got, pretty much lambasted. I got attacked, and then, I got canceled, and, I've had lawsuits with former band members, record labels, like friendships of 20 years broken up, never to be repaired,
That's such bullshit too. It's like, that happened to a lot of people though. It's not just you. A lot of people lost friends and family members over the whole division. This leads me though to your song, Trust the Science. And I gotta say, I watched this video. As soon as I watched the video, I messaged Dean. I was like, "Is that you sitting in that chair?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's me sitting in the chair." So I saw that right away. Right away, Dean's a really cool dude. Man. I'm happy he was in the song. And the song itself is okay. How about this? Are all your songs now that you are? I guess is it like a solo artist or do you have a band still? It's with the Lone Wolf, right?
So the Lone Wolf is like the band, and so
Okay.
I put together a 5-piece band, and we went on tour last year just under Tommy Vext, and I did a headlining run last summer. And it was wild, man. Like I was the first artist in the world to go on tour since COVID. So I went out and I did a Texas run in April, and we sold out all our shows, and then I did like free meet and greets every night because I had already gotten COVID, and I was like, I'm not gonna ask people to come out to a show if I'm not gonna put myself at risk too, because I don't believe that that's fair. So I was confident, having had COVID, that it was a flu-like thing, and this is something that as touring musician we get sick every year. Like we do meet and greets, we meet people, we travel all over the world, we get bugs. And then but the show must go on. It's like I've never in my life ever seen the touring world just shut down because of a flu, and which eventually COVID turned out to just be, which is kind of what it is now. And it had to run its course, and so like touring was really eye-opening because that's where I really truly saw the politicization of COVID, because every place that we played, the mandates and the rules and everything had to do with who was in control of those cities and states.
Yep.
So that's when you're like, and then even on a global level, you had like the UK abolished all the mandates, and Canada, Trudeau had like police officers beating up old ladies at the trucker rallies. You know what I mean?
That's crazy, man. Do you feel that you have more free range to write what you want to right now, with the new band, the new setup? Was there any other time when you were in Bad Wolves where you wanted to write something and the band was like, "Dude, we're not putting that shit out there. Don't write that." Did that ever happen to you?
No, because no one in Bad Wolves writes the songs.
Yeah, no, I know.
You can't. So like me and the drummer, were business partners, and the other 3 guys were hired guns. They don't play on the albums. They don't write the songs.
Okay.
No, it's like 9 Inch Nails. They're like me and John were like Trent Reznor, and those guys just play what we tell them to. And so, for most of the Bad Wolves hit songs, I co-wrote with a guy named Drew Folk. I've also co-written with guys like Scott Stevens, or, I even Remember When was written by Drew Folk, and even Zoltan Bathory had a hand in writing that song too, musically. So, we had a studio guitar player, this guy Max Karen from Once Human, and him and John wrote all the heavy tunes together. So he would play a guitar and John would play drums, and they would flush out all the heavy tunes. So nobody really had a say. And nobody really even looked too deeply into the lyrics. If you think about it, if you look at Disobey, the songs like, Officer Down is a very controversial song talking about the two sides of what's been going on, of how the media portrays law enforcement versus the percentage of cops who actually we need.
Right.
We actually need police reform, and it's a very complex thing. And I support law enforcement, and I have family in law enforcement, but I also do know that there's a tiny percentage of cops who are bad, and the police that are good hate the bad cops more than people really even know.
That's really anywhere you go. That's really anywhere you go. But if the media's going to focus on the negative, obviously, to create a story so they get more ratings and they make more money for their shows.
They make money out of it, and then every election they trump up the race card to try to get, because the Democrats believe that they own the minorities, and it's traditional to their party because they are the party that fought against freeing slaves. They're the party that fought against Jim Crow law. They're the party that started the KKK. I mean, they are the white supremacist party historically in this nation. So I think they just got smarter, and they don't outright say like, "Oh, we hate spicks and niggers." Like, they don't talk like that. They look at people like me and they're like, how can I use a minority person to vote for me, or how can I emotionally manipulate them to make my opponent look like they're bad? And
that's been going on
forever, yeah,
for quite a while. Ava, did you have a question you want to ask before? We are going to play this song here in a little bit.
I had a thing I was going to say, but I was going to say that even if someone didn't want you to put out something, you don't seem like the type of person to be like, oh, okay, like you just put out what you want.
Yeah. I mean, I was threatened. I mean, I got death threats in 2020. I was threatened by plenty of people in the industry. I was warned. They do everything. They first try to like, oh, well, think about these opportunities, or like they try to be like, oh, we're gonna give you opportunities to do this and have money and da. They basically just want to control you and make sure you don't say anything that causes people to think.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so ultimately, I'm gonna be me. Like I'm not. The thing with me is like, wicked men hate incorruptible men. There's nothing that can be done to me that's going to make me abandon or abuse my value system. And that's just how it is. Like that's just how I am. So it makes me a difficult artist to work with.
Yeah. No one wants to work with that. I don't want to work with that motherfucker.
Well, it's easier for them. A lot of them, like, they keep their artists on drugs. They keep them on drunk. They keep them like in a haze. Like, they keep them broke, and that's how they control them. And I'm like, I'm financially solvent. I have, multiple streams of revenue. I came into Bad Wolves already having a very successful business. I've been sober 13 years. Like, there's no way to make me do something I don't want to do.
Can I borrow $5? Can I borrow $5?
Yeah, yo, gas is high, bro. Take 10.
Yeah, I know, dude. All right, let's play your song "Trust the Science" right now. We got the music video pulled up. I totally forgot to tell you we're going to do that. We're going to play it on the show, and then we're going to continue the conversation. And then after the conversation, I want to talk about being a sobriety coach. Let's check this out. Here we go.
How much will it take? Vaccine lottery, all you needed to break. Tragic, we all got choices to make, but I seen more bite from Logan and Jay. Corporations are more than willing to pay for you to take the jab, do whatever they say. Continue making trillions while citizens stay at home, compliant, afraid.
Just trust the science and be compliant. There's no defiance. You will be silent. So when you do everything you're told, your consciousness becomes part inside. One day you'll wake up with no control. So what's the price of your soul? Was it silver and gold? So what's the price of your soul? Was it silver and gold?
Tell me this, how much will it take for you to understand and be fully awake and see that your liberties are what's really at stake? After emails leak proving Fauci is fake, 800,000 to the Wuhan labs, another 4 mil went to studying facts. Doc said it himself, ain't no point in the math, but I'm mad at top facts when I ask.
Just trust the science and be compliant. There's no defiance. You will be silent. So when you do everything you're told, your consciousness
Dude, I don't care what side of where you stand. That shit fucking hits so hard, dude. You guys can see me, but I'm over here like just fucking rocking out, man. That, bro, look, not trying to suck up, but that shit's fucking hard, dude. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. But when Dean got poked in the head, I wonder if that hurt him. When like the guy was like the was it the other the what?
Oh,
The other,
Dean's pretty tough, bro. Dean's a big dude.
yeah, dude. Does everyone in your band need to be super fucking jacked to be
No,
in
there's
your
one
band?
skinny guy.
There was one skinny
Well,
guy.
the when I put the band together, I basically, I didn't want to be in a band with a bunch of alcoholic drug addicts again,
Yeah.
and so like, the thing with people who are like, who are out of shape and drinking and doing drugs on tour is they're unhappy and their bodies hurt. And so, and they complain a lot, and then they resent, like people would resent me for not, I wake up in the morning and go to the gym, and I just like, my bass player actually is my old gym partner. So we worked out together anyway in LA. And then my guitar player, Dusty, he works out and he does, he's an MMA guy. He does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And then my drummer obviously is like an amateur bodybuilder guy. And then
there goes me being in the band.
What's that?
I said, there goes me being in the band.
Well, it's about being healthy, man. It's like, I want to do this for a long time. You look at guys like for example, Joe Rogan's like, what is he, 55 years old? He looks like he's 27. I just want to, I want to be healthy.
28 maybe. I don't know about 27.
Yeah, I don't think
not his face. No, like he's ripped though. Like he's
for sure.
in shape. Yeah, like not his face. I mean, obviously he's like looks.
His face is ripped,
but
bro.
It's just about lasting longer. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be doing this like Ozzy and Alice Cooper, and when I'm 70, and you can't do that if you're eating Burger King and sniffing cocaine every day. It just don't work.
What made you decide that you wanted to be a sobriety coach? What brought you into that? Because that's very cool, and I didn't want to bring that up and ask you about that.
Well, you said you've been sober for 13 years. So.
But is that what made you decide that you wanted to help others though? Because you're helping other people, right? When you're a sobriety coach, am I wrong?
Yeah, that's what your job is. So I started. When I was about 5 or 6 years sober, I got a job running a men's rehab facility in Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
And so I lived at the house most like half the week. And I had to cook for everybody and clean and do all the stuff and like create the programs. And I had a really good success rate with reaching these guys. And it's funny, like one of the guys who was at the house, we still text like all these years later. And he's done, a lot of these, like, it's great to see people who take a new lease on their life. And it's like a miracle you see, because you see them come in all twisted up and all drugged out. And then, they have these big full lives and start families and businesses and become successful. And, so I was doing that. And then my boss who owned the place, he heard my story.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking at an event, as I was just, a volunteer speaker at another rehab facility. And, he heard the story about how my brother murdered me and I stayed sober and like had to go into witness protection and, all that stuff. And then
I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he basically took me under his wing, started training me. I got certified and, then I started working as a live-in sober coach. So I was living with celebrities for 30 to 60 days of their early sobriety, as a coach, almost like an in-house counselor.
Uh-huh.
And it was pretty cool. I worked with people like Justin Bieber, and I worked with some athletes and actors, and it's an intense job. But how
good does it feel when you see someone from the beginning and you've influenced their lives and kind of maybe pivoted their path in a different direction, and you see them, a few years later and they're completely clean? Like, does that make you feel good knowing that you had something to do with it?
Of course. It's deeply gratifying. It was difficult to go back to being a full-time musician after I had such a successful career as a coach. And I think because of the extraordinary circumstances of my story, a lot of people who are very famous, or they think they're too special to get sober. And so, I offer them a different perspective of like, hey,
Cool.
You're going through this and you think you can't get clean. Like, imagine going through this. And they're like, holy shit, So, I've seen a lot of miracles happen. And so, yeah, I haven't worked one-on-one with clients since the band blew up, almost because I can't be anonymous anymore. Because I used to travel with these people and they would just think I was security or something. They'd be like, oh, who's this big guy? So, and so, and also it's, I did that, and I would like to open a rehab, one day. That's kind of one of my goals. I'd like to open up a facility.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, and I'd like to, do something where I could do like, where it could be free. That's the thing. It's very expensive.
I got to make a point that, people tend to choose sides when it comes to things like politics, right? Sure. But until you really know somebody such as yourself who's doing all these empowering things and great things for other people, there's a whole nother side of you there that some people may just point a finger like, no, I don't like him for this and this. But if you really got to know you, I'm sure there's a million other things they really could relate to you about besides just your one view that you have. So when I meet people in the oppositions of, especially politically, which I don't really even talk politics. I think this is the first time on the show I've ever really had a political conversation. I tend to stay away from it.
Sure.
When I meet someone though, if I know they disagree with me, I find something else. What do you like? Music? I like playing ping pong? Do you like ping pong? Do you watch basketball? I love watching basketball. There's other things we can talk about besides that. And people are gonna have their opinions about you one way or the other. But at the end of the day, dude, they don't even know you. So why does it even matter what they think? Do you have bands that don't want to play? Or you're still kind of new with the Lone Wolf. Have you reached out to bands that are like, no, I don't really want to do a show with Tommy and his group because of your stance on anything?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care. You know what I mean?
Good
like,
answer.
You got to look at it like this. Like, before I, said anything political or questioned COVID or anything, everybody loved me. Right.
Yeah.
I helped save Ivan Moody's life, and I mean, and then he turned around and talked shit about me after the fact. You know what I mean?
Dang, man.
I've been, like Randy from Lamb of God is one of my dearest friends. I love him to death. We have completely opposing political ideas, and when he got arrested in Czech Republic, I started a men's group online of all the sober musicians so that he could, if he read his emails, he could get recovery, recovery help, and just be able to communicate while he was like locked up, because we didn't know exactly what his status was. And then when I started talking about my political beliefs, he messaged me. I was like, hey man, like, no, like, it's not an offense, but I can't follow you on social media anymore. And I was like, okay.
That's so stupid when people do things like that. It's like, have your,
It's because, well, look, it's because people are so, this is what the problem is, people are so deeply rooted in their political beliefs that they've turned it into a religion, and there's no room for the middle. Like, I'm not a diehard conservative. I've talked about this plenty of times. Like, I don't think abortion should be illegal. I think that's crazy. I think a woman should have a choice to do it with her body, whatever she wants. But I also believe in personal responsibility. I don't believe in socialism, and I don't think socialized medicine, as mandatory socialized medicine, is a good form of healthcare. Right. I think that for certain people, they should have social programs where they can get the help they want.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't do away with private medicine, because if you make more money and you want to pay for better healthcare, you should be allowed to pay for better. You know what I mean? It's like telling everybody they can only drive one kind of car.
I think I've agreed with every single thing you said on the show. I preach this myself to my friends personally. I'm the same way. I'm a common senser, I guess, if you will. I believe in common sense, and people need help, and I understand that. And anyways,
well, I think a lot of people, I think the media just went and they were like, "Oh, he's a Trumper," and blah blah. And I'm like, listen, I supported Trump in the 2020 election because I did extensive research on Joe Biden. Right. I know everything about the Biden family. Everything. I'm a nerd. So like, if you're gonna run for office, I'm gonna look you up. Now, what do I know about Trump? He's an asshole. He's got a rough personality. He says fucking crazy shit on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, these are not good things. But also at the same time, we had a cool president for 8 years, right? Like, Obama was mad cool.
Yeah.
And he made everybody feel like shit was cool. Now, I don't really agree with a lot of his policies, but I think he was great at being presidential.
As a person, you'd probably get along with them more than, or you'd probably a genuinely nice guy to talk to.
But Trump as a president, the economy was better under Trump than it was under Obama. And the policies that Trump put into place, like for the African American communities, creating opportunity zones, all these things that he did, he actually did a lot of good, and it got overshadowed by his asshole personality. Now, Joe Biden, on the other hand, it's obvious that Joe Biden has a degenerative brain disease. First of all, it's not funny. He's like okay, if he wasn't a politician and he was a mechanic, and you tried to make him go to work every day and be a mechanic, someone could call the police on you for elderly abuse.
Yeah, well, he's like 80. He's like 80.
He's got Alzheimer's.
Yeah, he's old.
And he needs to, he should be retired. This man can't, and the fact that, Putin is moving into Ukraine and all these other world leaders, they know he's weak. And so the world is imbalanced because he's pathetic. Yeah. They shouldn't have even let him run. They should have just ran Kamala or Elizabeth Warren or, it's like there's plenty of other people. Bloomberg, there were tons of other competent politicians who could have went toe-to-toe with Trump because so many people didn't like him because of his personality. But the bottom line is that I was 100% correct in my accuracy and depictions of what would it be like if Biden was president. Yeah. And he's the worst president in American history on paper. Like,
I was gonna say, I think the polls agree with that. Yeah, I quit following the news because I was so tired of seeing arguments over Republican Democrats. I was like, I'm gonna focus on music, do a podcast, and I'm gonna say the hell with it on there. And that's what I personally like to do.
We need a new party. That's what it is.
There needs to be one. If you start one, let me know, and I'll probably join. Okay. Are all your songs? We're gonna get off here in just a little bit. I want you to answer though. Are all your songs that you're writing now? Are they all kind of politically driven or
No, they're all. Everything's always been autobiographical, as it always been. There's a song coming out on the record that'll probably come out in June or July about my. I attempted to commit suicide in 2011 or 12 about a month after I testified against my twin brother, and he got 20 years in jail. I just got hit with like a wave of shame and regret and depression, and it was so unbearable. I was going to jump in front of a train, and I got a phone call on the platform from some kid who needed to get sober, and he was crying, and the train was coming into the station I was supposed to jump in front of, and instead I got on the train and I met the kid, and then I became a sponsor and I helped him get sober.
Wow, man.
It saved my life. So, there's the whole album it's called Grand Theft Audio because some of my songs have been stolen. I
read a little bit about that. I wasn't going to bring it up.
I mean, you could it's all comedy at this point. It's like, that's how you know you're doing something right when your shit is so hot that people have to steal your shit and what I mean? But I take it as flattery. I'm like, okay, whatever's clever.
Reminds me of Falling in Reverse a little bit, just a little bit. I don't know if you know about their story, but kind of a little bit. Any new shows that you have planned already? That any tours lined up right now?
Yeah, I'm in the process of booking a tour with Adelita's Way for the summer. So we'll be doing a full U.S. tour, I think 5 weeks, sometime starting in mid to late July or early August. And then depending on what's going on with Europe, we're looking to go to UK and Europe afterwards in the fall.
Cool. Ava, you didn't say anything. You got something? You got something before we get off here?
Yeah, I was gonna say to end things on a lighter note. With the amount of touring that you've done, like, what's the craziest story that you have?
The craziest story? I mean, there's a couple. I mean, one of the most profound conversations I had was I played a show in Massachusetts in 2019, and this father, he literally broke into the backstage area with his 14-year-old daughter, and she still had she had bracelets on. She had come from the hospital, and she had just gotten discharged for attempting suicide. She cut her wrists.
Oh.
And so I was her favorite artist, and the dad wanted me to talk to her. And the security and everyone grabbed them and tried to throw them out, and I like stopped them. And we went back behind the stage, and I just sat there and I mostly just listened, and it was crazy because this guy was like this big tattooed, tough dad, kind of guy. And he was just crying because he was so afraid for his daughter. And like, I don't know why anyone would pick me to talk to, but I told her what I did, and I told her what I went through, and I told her to start a journal, and and I gave him some resources and stuff for like therapy and family therapy. And
dude, what I'm telling you, just the heart you have just seems so big, man. And that is just absolutely incredible. Just the stories that you say, especially about stuff like this, regardless of what people may think about politically and all this and that. As a common senser, your heart is in the right place, and that is not something you find with everybody that you meet.
With most people, you don't find that.
No, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's what they say. They're like, in recovery, we say religion is for people who are scared to die and go to hell, and spirituality is for people who've already been through hell.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Well, I got to thank you for being on the show. Thank you so much. Please stay right there. Stay right there till after the outro song plays. Please. Thank you very much. I do want to thank everybody who listens to The Loud Spot. Tommy Vext, you've been fantastic. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on all podcasting platforms. Once again, Apple, Spotify. Just found out we were on Pandora. I didn't know that, but we are. So, and we got a Patreon page, www.patreon.com/The Loud Spot. $3 is all we ask for a month. It really helps us out. That's all the time we got for today. Peace out, rock on, and much love.
This is The Loud Spot outro by nothing short of tragic. Is this all talk with no action? No. Is this my thoughts with distraction? No. Is this what I bought that's in fashion? Or is this The Loud Spot with Sebastian? Yes. Does nothing short of tragic have its back again? Yes. Does everything that's good really have to end? Yes. A pin post has a pin show, so to get more episodes, make an order, this is over.
Thanks for watching our video. Don't forget to click the like and share button.
Don't forget to go to our YouTube and subscribe.
If you want to listen to our audio and pick up some cool merch, go to www.theloudspot.net. Peace out, rock on, much love.